So I'm going to talk to you today about Modulesync and how Vox Pupuli manages a bunch of modules. When I submitted the talk, we had 132 modules. At the moment, it's 141, so the number is constantly growing. Vox Pupuli is a big Puppet community, and before we talk about the Modulesync tool and how it actually works, I need to introduce a bit the community itself and how it works and how it evolved over time. So what is Vox Pupuli? As you already saw, we maintain a huge amount of Puppet modules. But besides that, we are a big community with many people. Most of us maintained Puppet modules on their own. Those modules were quite successful, and people started to struggle over time to keep maintaining them because it takes more and more time. If your module is popular, you get issues for that, you get pull requests, people demand new features, and it's hard to keep track with that. So we considered a few years ago to unite ourselves to a collective and share our knowledge, and more importantly, share the available time that we have and develop stuff together. Because most of us do this in their spare free time or at the evening or on the weekend. And we noticed that we need some workflows to make this more efficient. So who is Vox Pupuli? As you can see, also the number of people in our GitHub organization grows from time to time. At the moment, we have 152 people in our organization that all have merge access to the different Puppet modules that we have. There are a few other people as well that maintain other tools. And this number constantly grows over time. You may wonder why the timeframes are so different on the lower bar. We basically take a snapshot of all the members that we have every time somebody does a talk about Vox Pupuli. So all the data sets from the past, you can see that somebody talked about us and made a presentation. So the people that contribute code to us are usually system administrators that write pretty good Puppet code, and they are used to that. But they are new to test frameworks, so often a change doesn't contain any test, and the people also are new to Git. My impression is that especially all the smaller companies that use Puppet and want to provide their changes upstream don't use any of the described techniques from Martin's talk. It feels like they're just always writing to master and nobody does code review in company. And that's different in our open source approach. But that means that we always need to teach new people how to use Git properly, how GitHub works that we use to exchange. And also we need always to explain how to write tests. And that's a topic that comes up over and over again. So we consider that we need to document this and make it somehow better and improve it. So as a conclusion, why Vox Pupuli was founded, we noticed maintaining modules is pretty damn hard because the ecosystem changes from time to time, especially keeping track of all the different Puppet versions that people should test on, the different Ruby versions. That takes a bunch of time. And also using linters like Robocop takes a bunch of effort because it can be quite painful, and it's listed here on purpose twice because it's often twice the pain. So it somehow makes sense. Puppet is a configuration management system, so we use it to automate all the things that we have in our production environments. So it seems obvious that we also try to automate the workflows that we have using different tools that are available. And we started out with considering writing down standards. So every time somebody tries to hunt a bug down, or wants to implement a new feature request, you cannot just write new code. You need to understand the project structure. And that's not different in a Puppet module. So every module can look a bit different, and you first need to understand the structure. And we started to define guidelines how a module should look. And we came up with something that's pretty good, but now have the challenge, how can we roll out those changes to all the modules that we have? Also, if there is a proper structure, we also need to ensure that the code has the same code style everywhere, because even here, it makes it easier to develop if the code that you are presented with always looks the same. There are tools available like Puppet Lint, but again, we have the challenge on how do we configure it properly on 140 modules. And last piece, CI configuration. At the moment, we use Travis CI, which can be configured also in a module. But again, that's a YAML file that we somehow need to keep track of, and it needs to be configured in all modules the same way. So we identified here some ways on how we can make our work more efficient. But at that point, it wasn't really clear to us on how we can implement all the features that we wanted to all the modules. So we started with writing some documentation. We have a review guideline online that explains how people should review new pull requests. And the website is deployed from a Git repository. So every time somebody wants to change our review guidelines, the person needs to create a pull request. The changes are discussed, and if there's a majority of people that approve the pull request, it's merged. So there is always a discussion involved before a change is applied. And we consider this to be a very good pattern. We use the same for the contributing MD and the different markdown templates that we have for issues and pull requests available. But again, those were files that we somehow need to sync and keep in sync across all the modules that we have. The tool that we came up with is Modulesync, that's developed by Puppet years ago and was open sourced. Vox Pupuli now keeps track of maintaining it. And that's basically one tool that takes a Git repository with templates and a configuration file, and you can apply all those templates to the Git repositories. And it's not tied to any specific permissions or any specific knowledge or environment, so everybody can kick it off and apply the changes. So Modulesync is a very generic tool that you can use to sync all the repositories that you have. They don't have to be Puppet modules. And it's also not tied to the Vox Pupuli organization. So you can easily adopt the tool and use it for your own Puppet modules that you have in-house or at your company, or for your other open source modules in your own GitHub namespace. That all works pretty good. All the Vox Pupuli configuration is in a separate repository. You can fork it, or you can use our config, or you can just start from scratch. That works all as well. I have a simple screenshot provided to you from the Modulesync config root directory. And from bottom to top, we start with the manage modules YAML file, which is just a YAML array of all the modules or all the Git repositories that we would like to manage. Up next is the config defaults YAML file, which contains all the variables that we use in our templates that I will show you later on. The variables used in this repository will apply to every Puppet module that we manage, but it's possible to overwrite one variable or multiple for a specific Puppet module. So we always try to keep all modules as equal as possible, but there is always that one special snowflake that needs to be treated differently, and that's possible with this workflow as well. The repository also contains a README and a contributing MD, which explains how all this stuff works. And next up, we have the module root directory. So the module root is the directory that will be applied as a base with other templates to every Puppet module. So this might look familiar to you. We have the gem file that pulls in all the dependencies that we have. On top of that, we have a rake file which defines all the different jobs that we have to configure module releases, kicking off tests, and setting up all the different linters that we have to ensure that our code actually looks as we discussed it in the past. And we have the .github directory, which contains the templates for the contributing MD and templates for the for a new pull request and for a new issue that will be presented if you want to create those on the GitHub UI. I've got two example comments for you to show to prove that it's actually pretty damn easy to kick off a Modulesync. The comment in the middle creates a Modulesync for every module that's listed in the YAML file, and Modulesync will automatically create a pull request, attach a label to it, and set a specific title for the pull request. If you don't like to kick out changes to 150 modules, which I can understand, there's of course a filter option to just match for specific modules. And also there's a no-op option to only apply the templates, but don't do any Git operations at all. And in theory, we could also merge pull requests automatically. We don't do this yet on Vox Pupuli, but it would be possible. I've also got a single screenshot from one of those pull requests. As you can see, label is attached, title is correct, and when the pull request is merged, the branch is also automatically deleted. So we have a clean history and not thousands of leftover branches. We use Travis CI for tests, as I mentioned, and we defined a CI matrix based on different Puppet and different Ruby versions. And we use Travis to also do releases. Besides that, we also use Beaker. Beaker can spin up for us a virtual machine with Vagrant or a Docker instance. We execute Puppet in those environments, and afterwards we can execute checks to ensure, for example, a web service running, a service got installed, the package is available, stuff like this. And one screenshot from a Travis configuration. In this case, that's one Puppet module which has 18 different CI checks configured. Why do I show this to you? The complete Travis environment, or the complete jobs, are run through for every pull request that gets created with Modulesync, and also, of course, for every other pull request. In the past, people were pretty scared about pushing out changes because they weren't sure if a change that got merged actually broke the module or not. But we invested so much time and effort in our CI environment that people are no more confident to push out changes. And that lowers the bar for newcomers to also make changes and to join the community, which is quite important. So a quick summary, Vox Pupuli, we have a lot of tooling and automation available. There is even more, but those are topics for other presentations. But more important, we also have a huge amount of great people spread across the whole globe that work on our Puppet modules. If any of you need some help with Puppet or debugging, or you just have domain-specific knowledge for one of the tools that we use, or if you have knowledge about one of the software that we automate with a Puppet module, you're always highly appreciated to check out our IRC channel or Slack or the open issues and pull requests and have a look and start joining the community. If anybody of you is interested in joining or getting in touch with us, a bunch of ways are possible. IRC is always preferred for more of the hipster people. We have also Slack. For the older people, we have mailing lists available, so there is no excuse to not get in touch. And yeah, that's it from my side. Thanks for your attention.
We do have a question through in the Q&A. Does Modulesync have support for other Git services such as Bitbucket self-hosted?
Oh, good question. We support GitHub Enterprise that's hosted on your own, so you can specify the GitHub API endpoints that should be used. I think at the moment we don't support creating pull requests on Bitbucket. However, that should be easily to implement. And besides that, we only do normal Git operations. So for the main purpose of Modulesync, it doesn't matter which Git service you use. You just need to have Git available.
Okay, so we have a few more questions coming in. Is there a Beaker for mere humans so we can spin VMware's VM via Beaker?
I think Beaker supports that, but there is no public service that offers you VMware virtual machines. I know that Puppet has that internally, and some other people maintain that on their own in their company. And yeah, if you have a VMware environment, you can hook that up to Beaker. But I'm not aware of any public service that provides that for free to you.
Just a final question here. So Modulesync and PDK seems to serve similar purposes in standardizing modules. What are the differences between them, and are you converting the Vox Pupuli managed modules to the PDK layout?
Yes. So first off, the PDK sync was developed, as far as I remember, based on the knowledge from Modulesync. So Modulesync was there first, and PDK was supposed to be the successor. At the moment, we don't have any issues with Modulesync on Vox Pupuli. It supports everything that we need, and it works quite good, and it has a bunch of tests. So from that perspective, we don't feel any pressure to migrate all modules. However, we noticed that people use PDK more and more often and want to migrate their modules to us with PDK layout. And managing those with the Modulesync can be quite tricky. We would like to unite those tools somewhere in the future and maybe replace Modulesync with PDK. But that will take a bunch of time because PDK does some things different. It puts in a bunch of very specific gems that only work in specific Ruby environments. And at the moment, those don't work for our use cases. But we are in active contact with a few people that would like to do the migration, and also in contact with the people at Puppet that develop on PDK. And I think there will be some improvements in the near future.